All right. Good afternoon. Oh, let me. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. I might sneeze, so get ready. I hope not. I hope I don't sneeze, but I might sneeze. I hope I don't. All right, so we have a new number, which is pretty good, by the way. Obviously, it's not audited or anything. We now have 17,434,113 shares of Railtown. 17,400,000. That's a pretty big number. Let's see if we can hang on to that. You know, we have to let the situation tell us what to do. But for now, let's plan on holding on to it. Railtown is down a penny today in the United States, 26.85. And this is what, as you know, the computers, they let it, when there's some buying, they'll step away. They'll let the parameters move a bit, and then they continue doing it. For them, today it's down a penny. I loved what account settings set me yesterday. Maybe he gets it every day, I don't know. But it shows you exactly what they're doing. They've got a bunch of nominee brokers probably, or maybe those are all clean. I don't think they are. But then they have this big anonymous, and they're just going back and forth, back and forth. But today the volume is very low, 36,000 shares. So, they're just trying. I don't know if it'll hold or not. I don't think it will. The bid is 26.79. The ask 28.08. They've got 49.5 for sale. 54,000 to buy. 59.5 for sale. 49.5 for sale. Those are two different. 9,500 for sale. I'm surprised the 52.5 isn't there. So they're at pretty low volume, 36,000. So the other thing is, as you break out, you come back down to test the breakout. I don't know. I did the chart, and charts are tricky. I mean, it's if you zoom in or zoom out, it changes it. But it's kind of I think my interpretation might not hold up. I don't know. Not that it's negative. It's just that maybe what I saw or drew isn't the exact pattern. But I still see it, that wedge. And by going horizontally, it breaks out, but then it's up. I'll show it to you. See, it's just, now the 52.5 is on the bid at 26.3. That professional just can't get anything done properly. GDC is down 18 cents at 4.24. I mean, it was a slam dunk at $7.80 because they put out a press release that it was worth $22 a share. I mean, you got to do that, don't you? Well, anyway, it's 4.24 now. Finger is down half a penny at 122.5. I was ridiculed for my target of $1.25. I didn't come out and say it's going there. I just said that's the risk. And I was ridiculed for that. It doesn't give me comfort. I'm not pleased that it's down there. But remember with Finger, perhaps if they announce a financing, maybe they get this C2 contracts, revenues might surprise, who knows? It can set up a rally in February, March, April, like last year and like the previous year for a trade. But I think you have to acknowledge the risk is they do a financing at $1 or under $1, and the strategies that come after that. But we don't know that yet. That's just, we'll see what they do. They're aware of the threat, at least. MTEN is down 27 cents to 271. So if you divide that by 200, I guess it's 0.012. It's 1 penny, 0.2. ZJYL is up a little bit, almost a penny at 15.96. And we'll go back and look at Railtown. 36,340 shares, 26.7 on the bid, 52.5. The ask is 63,000 at 13,000, 28.15, 13,000, 28.04, 33,000, 28.04. 63,000, 28.47, 20. Anyway, you get the picture. Popping it around. That's down a penny today. And again, we're looking at 17,400,000 shares amongst the wise ones, the Parliament of Owls. All right, Julie Kim, good morning from Central California. Wow, so you're warm. Today I went out looking for salt. I brought a big bag here, but the guy that owns the building last year, he put it he put it under lock and key in the basement, and there's no way to get down there. In fact, the snow is so high, you can't even open the door anyway, even if it were unlocked. So anyway, I went walking around for snow. I went everywhere. I went to 2 grocery stores, 3 drugstores, hardware store, a couple of places along the way. A gas station, 2 gas stations. There's no salt anywhere. There's nothing. So, and then on Amazon, it'll come in February. So I wasn't successful. So we have good weather here, but the way the snow is structured, it came down in, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches, maybe more. Then there was a layer of this kind of ice, and then more, and now there's a layer. So you walk on it, it doesn't collapse. You're just walking on top of the snow. And of course they have plows out, but that just sets up treacherous, because they also have salt, treacherous, slushy barriers to get from sidewalk to sidewalk. And these poor guys, one guy opening up the sidewalk in front of his pot shop. He's a nice guy. I talked to him briefly, but such hard work just chopping through, using a real shovel, not a snow shovel. Anyway, I'm glad you're in a warm part of the country. Hey Clay, hello William, trying to buy more today. We'll see how it goes. See how that love grows. I don't know, you play it the way you want. The volume is so low, that I think I would just put it in at one of the ask prices. I don't know how much you're trying to buy, but the biggest ask is 63,000 at, well, they've got a lot of they've got several 63,000, but 63,000, 2818, 2812, 2809, 2004 for 33,000. And just put it in there. They're not going to fill you at that price. Or if they do, it's the first time all year. They'll give you a lower price. But if you go in on the bid, they're not, nobody's selling. No, there's no real sellers, so they're not going to give it to you. And they don't have to. Well, I don't know what the rules are, but the way it used to be, and I assume it's still that way. If you become part of the bid, number one, they've got to go through who's ahead of you. But the only way they absolutely have to give you a trade is if the ask comes down to meet your bidding price. And that doesn't look like it's likely. So I would just go in at the ask. There's probably 8 different asking offers. Just pick one of them. And they have to give you that. Like 63,000 at 28.2. Well, no, 63,000 at 28.14. Well, go in at that. And if that's still there and you're not buying more than that, they have to fill your order, but they won't fill you at that price. They'll probably do it at, I don't know. It's been so long since I don't know, but the bid's 26.8. My guess is they'll fill you at 27.30 or 27.40 or something. So I understand trying to save a penny, or 2 pennies, but if you go in at the ask, you'll probably save a penny anyway. And if you go in when you're out at a restaurant, if you go into the men's room, you can always spend a penny. T. Alex, good afternoon, T. CJ Yukon, hey William, hola. Fast Eddie, cheers. T. Alice, new TELUS cross-border study reveals Canadians and Americans just want to get along. Want companies to earn their trust in AI. Well, I have that because Ward sent it to me. I don't know what it means exactly for our investment, but it's an interesting article. Donna, good afternoon, and everyone, she says. Joe Marty on a buying spree, Marty Party, grabbed 130 more shares. I love it. I think it's great. 130. That's fantastic. 192, 930. For some reason, I'm feeling really, behind my eyes and my head. I'm feeling a little bit out of it. So if I don't do a good job today, that may be why. I don't know if it's from stress or from who knows. All right, so now there's 31,000 for sale at 28.38. You can go in at that. 61,000, 28.42. Anyway, you get the idea. All right. Hey, Jeremy. Good things, my man. Good things to RT shareholders. That's awfully kind of you, Jeremy. Same to you. Let me see what I have to show, I don't have much. I don't have much to show for anything. Don't have much to show for life. St. Peter is going to say to me, that's it, is it? That's it. When I get up there. So let's go through your file. That's it. All right. All right. So there's that article you just said to me. This came from Ward. New TELUS cross-border study reveals Canadians and Americans just want to get along. Do we need alcohol at every function? The findings asked. AI adoption surges, 85% of Canadians and 89% of Americans use AI, demonstrating widespread embrace of the technology. But of course, you know, AI encompasses a broad palette of products. Transparency and safety matter. More than 3/4 of respondents want companies to review AI for harms before new tools are released. Calls for inclusion and respect. It sounds like that's probably the men in the group doing that. About 7 in 10 respondents asking them to listen to customers' feelings. Near universal call for robust governance. Of course, you got to be woke. You got to have your ESG. So, and I'm sure the article's correct. I'm sure it's as accurate as it can be. Include our feedback as you build AIs is the key message from Americans and Canadian respondents. AI trust, public perspectives on bridging the AI trust gap. Familiarity with technology, AI technology is growing. So are calls for inclusion. Whatever. I mean, it's your generation. You can live in it. Now, the report captures perspectives from more than 11,000 Canadians and Americans, with a special attention to underrepresented communities, highlighting the importance of including a wide range of voices to build trustworthy AI. Their faith in AI is stronger when we stand together, when organizations review potential harms before release. Anyway, it's a very woke company, it's a very woke country. Then this was the big news today in TELUS that I found. Calgary entrepreneurs garner grand prize from TELUS for middle housing innovation. They announced the award. So, you know, there's a lot on TELUS's plate. So in due course, they may get to our project, but there's plenty of things to get through first. Here's the chart from in Canada. The yellow is my declining wedge. Both show you that it could be a different declining wedge, but it's also almost a parallelogram. So it's a trading range. Anyway, either way, if you look down here, the stock broke out by going horizontally for a little while. And that's what Lion, I don't know if that's what it is, but that might be the forming of a bottom. But in any event, it broke out. Now, if I tightened this chart, I'm sure I could make that breakout appear right on the line. So anyway, again, this is all fat finger, but you get the idea. It's broken out. It'll probably try to pull back to the breakout. I count it. You see my little blue dot over here on the left up high? That's my target. But it's also kind of where I start the count boxes over. I don't know if it works. But if you count up those same number of boxes, you get to this 80-cent target. And that's where I think it'll go fairly quickly when it decides to giddy up. And it could go sideways a little bit, but you never know. But I think it has broken out to the upside. Those are gold prices. We can talk about that in a little bit later. And yeah. All right. So let's see if there's any comments. 26.7 to 28.5. There's the 52.5. Man, they can't get rid of that stock. Ridden it all the way down. It's how they know each other. That's why they post the same amount. They know who they are. Silver sky rockets at night. Afternoon delight. How are you, Red Pepper? Jeremy Simmons. Never met a Canuck I didn't like. Cool ass people. That's true. I'd say it's an even when you're traveling. I'd say it's almost even between Canadians and Australians for instant friendship, and they're both very kind, but I think you're right. I'd maybe give the advantage to the Canadians. Hey Eric, happy Railtown. Hello, happy Railtown investors. That's great. Jack Hamilton. Good afternoon, Sir William. Good afternoon, Donna, and all aboard the Railtown train. Exactly. So it's 2:30. I ran through the stuff that I wanted to show. I'm sure one of you will ask me a question that could cause me to talk for 10 minutes. Last night, Djokovic, I stayed up. Maybe that's why my head is pounding. I stayed up to watch the match at 10:30 against Musetti. He's 23, Lorenzo Musetti. And Djokovic broke out right away. He broke Lorenzo. So I thought, wow, thank God he's going to win the first set. But then he gave back the break, and I don't think he got any back, but I think he was broken twice in the first set. And then the second set, he was broken once. And he was just flat out losing. He looked flat. But Musetti's shots are unbelievable. He's very strong, and his backhand is beautiful, just a beauty, beauty, beauty. But in the third set, all of a sudden, maybe not all of a sudden, because they were talking about what's going on, but he retired from the match. So Djokovic is through. But I got to tell you, now he has to. Then I stayed up to try to watch. I went in and out of falling asleep to watch Sinner play Ben Shelton. I don't really like Ben Shelton. I don't really like Sinner. I mean, not as people, but as a fan, I'm not a big fan of either one. But I was rooting for Ben Shelton, and of course, Sinner just blew him off the court. And so anyway, it sets up Sinner against Djokovic. I don't see how Djokovic wins the set. I think it's going to be very sad. But you never know. You never know. He's got to come up with a strategy and execute it perfectly. He could do it. He could do it. But man, I think my tennis hero is starting to run up against the inevitable. These two guys, Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, are just a cut above Djokovic. But Djokovic is a cut above everyone else, except I think Lorenzo Musetti and this guy, Tien, I don't think he's played Djokovic. And then the guy from Brazil, I think there's two guys from Brazil actually, or one from Argentina. But the guy from Brazil, I'll try to remember his name, like Pau or something like that. There are some people coming up who will challenge Carlos and Jannik. But for now, Djokovic is pretty much the number three. I mean, there's Zverev, who had hit that terrible injury, but he plays great too. But he's getting up there. He's like 29. These other youngsters are just impressive. Anyway, nobody wants to hear about tennis. The Zionists and Bibi Netanyahu, have convinced the president, after crying wolf for at least 35 years, I guess the president now believes what Bibi's saying, and so they're sending an armada, according to news, toward Iran. And I think you should keep your fingers crossed or say your prayers, because if Russia or China have given Iran hypersonic missiles, and particularly if they give missiles which MIRV, I think you could see us lose an aircraft carrier group or two, and then you're going to have a reveal. I hope not. I hope they know what they're doing, and maybe we have other weapons like sound or lasers or something that can counteract those hypersonic missiles. But if we don't, you might see the rest of our Navy come home. And that's something that you got to be aware of, that could change your financial position and our standing in the world. I hope not. I hope not. But I wouldn't go over and bomb Iran on behalf of that lying bastard Netanyahu. But hey, everybody around Trump is a Zionist, so I guess he became president to make Israel great again, or just make Israel great for the first time. So the full economy and power of America is behind that little regime. But anyway, regardless what you feel about it, you can sort of get my point of view. But regardless of that, if we go against war with Iran, that could change oil prices, that could change the dollar overnight, could change silver and gold overnight. So we'll watch it. I tend to think that Trump is playing out the string because he's owned by those, Miriam Adelson, those banks. But maybe it's a way of, inoculating the world against going to World War III. Who knows? We'll just pay attention to it. Meanwhile, I see further evidence that China's not in as strong a position as you think. I personally think their population is half of public records, but they've got debt problems, and apparently there's behind the scenes military problems. So that where that might affect your account is when regimes flail and have internal dissension, they look outward. And, maybe Taiwan is going to be on their agenda. If TSMC, is that the initials of that chip company? Or is it TSMC? Yeah, something like that. Taiwan Semiconductor Company, whatever it's called. If that gets attacked or shuts down, it's going to throw the world into a tizzy. And it will make the semiconductor stocks who are remaining probably skyrocket. It might, anyway, that's a little bit of instability going on in the world. It seems like the powers that be want us at each other's throats. I don't really understand it, but and again, we all know that it's better. This path we're on for the last 50 years, 60 years is much better than the alternative. So can't criticize it. But I guess the response to our declining birth rates and therefore our declining population to go to work and to go to war, the Democrats in particular, under the last zombie-ish president, brought in 20, 25, and I've heard numbers much higher, million people from around the world who they didn't choose to come here. They didn't self-select. There's no entry exam. There's not even a health exam. But, there are broad parts of our population that accept it. I would point out that group probably doesn't have the judgment God gave them, and maybe we shouldn't pander to their votes so much, but that's not going to change anything. So we have these conflicts, and the good guys, I guess, are all for people attacking federal agents because the federal agents are wrong, I guess. The bad guys notice that things like drugs and cartels and rapes and assaults and theft and all that, lack of safety is an issue, and so they they're the bad guys, though. They want to get those non-citizens out of the country. And I guess those are the bad guys. I mean, we can't argue with the logic of the masses, just like in the French Revolution, the masses. You can't help but notice the protesters are in a large part a certain segment of our society, but can't talk about that because it's just too negative. So anyway, I hope that it's, the media has blown it out of proportion, I think. And it's tragedy that there's been people hurt, but who ever would have thought that a college educated people would think it's a good idea to attack in any way, whether they're right or wrong, to attack federal officers who are armed. I mean, is that going to end well? Anyway, I hope that it doesn't tear our country apart. Hopefully we'll stick together. But there's a lot of signs of instability in the world. And, I read that, I think it was BlackRock, one of their credit funds is in trouble. So private equity, if there start to be cracks in private equity, that's a threat. Of course, anyway, I'm sure there's others. Nothing's popping into my head. Nothing's really. I guess the Ukraine is still a bit of a risk area, but I think we've disengaged there enough. So anyway, these are all things that to watch for that can trigger financial sell-offs. But I'm sure we'll muddle through. Natural gas has tripled or quadrupled, and it happens from time to time when weather is cold. That would have been a nice play. But of course, it's a gamble too. But we'll get to the point where we can maybe play the cyclical, basically the annual move in natural gas prices. But that would have been fun. That would have been a fun play. I don't know what else. It's very quiet in this town. People are not back to work yet. So I'd be surprised if there's a whole heck of a lot of front page news going on. I mean, here's unhinged nurse, and you can guess what sex she is, encourages colleagues to inject ICE agents with paralytic drug. What's going on? They did put the agents on leave, so. All right, let's look at the price and I'll go look at your comments. 26.99, 27 on the bid. Ask 28.85, and it's just, I guess you call it barcoding. There's 75,500 for sale, 50,500, 25,500, 75,500. So it's a bunch of prices separated by 0.0001. The volume is still 38.1. All right, let's see what you're saying. Hey, Steve. Jack Hamilton got a few more at 26.85. Wow. 737. That's pretty amazing. $93, $782. Man, you're going to catch up with Donna. You're going to catch up with Donna before you know it. And Donna says, hey, Jack, congratulations to you and everyone who's buying. I agree with Donna. Julia says, do you think it'll break 30 today? No, it could, but I don't think so. You know, there's the ongoing debate whether fundamentals matter or if you can just look at the technicals. But I think, to me, the chart, it's broken out of its, however you want to draw the trend. And I think it's broken out. But it's got to come back and test that breakout, which is what I think is going on right now. But the fundamentals are pretty important here. I don't think that announcement by Railtown, which was great, about Rail Engine and TELUS and all that, I don't think, at least in the short run, that was enough to cause or allow the buyers in Canada to come in. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're not there. Now, is it enough that after, let's say, 2 or 3, 4 days they will, or after a week? Maybe. But my guess is, I wish I knew for sure. But my speculation is that we're still waiting for a TELUS release that, or Railtown, or both, that kind of more fully discloses what's going on at that data center. It may not give us detailed information, but it'll be enough to say to all those people out there, we've done our job to fully disclose to the public all of this privileged information that you may or may not have been exposed to during the course of the acquisition, during the course of maybe a Canaccord raise, just during the course of, you know, bankers being bankers. And I just don't think that's happened yet. The volume is low, though, Julius. Now, as I see 19,000 shares, 19,920. To me, that's a great sign. Absolute great sign. And so the pullback, you know, before they did this heaviness on every single stock, you would have these cataclysmic sell-offs at some point, and it's called capitulation. It's where everybody that's holding on finally just gets sick of it and dumps, just gets out. Says, I can't stand it anymore. It's very emotional. It's a very emotional, and there's not anything wrong with that. I'm not making fun of it. But it's the stress gets too much, the disappointment, and people want to do something. There's dump out, and that's usually a high volume down day or two, and then it just dries up, and then it tests upward, and it has this little bit of pullback, and there's no real selling anymore. So any buying that comes in makes it snap to attention. What's hard to read is when you constantly have sell programs in stocks that would otherwise trade by appointment. It mixes all those signals. And that's why I contend that the price doesn't tell you anything about the company. Nothing. But people may disagree with me. It's all we have. It's all we have to look at. But no, I don't think it's going to go to 30 today. We'll find out. It's only another hour. It's just guesswork, but it could be in this range for the next day or two, and then start marching upward. If the buying can't come in yet because of disclosure issues, these guys may drive it back down somewhat. But it's not acting that way. It's not acting like you're ever going to see 25 cents again, you know. But that's not too far away from here. So nothing is gospel, nothing. But you got 27 cents by 28.41, 28.40. I mean, it's silliness. But no, if I had to guess, it's not going to go to 30 cents today. But it's only a penny away from 30 cents as we're talking. So, you know, that's not that much volatility. I would take your question more as, do you think it'll break through 30 and, you know, maybe the bid's strongly above there or something like that. And I don't think we're there yet. Eric, yesterday was a massive accumulation event triggered by the launch of Rail Engine. I agree with that. Let's see what you're saying. Well, you're saying it's massive. It was 2 million shares. So maybe somebody was accumulating 1.5 million, 2 million shares. I personally don't think, I mean, compared to anything we've seen, you're right. But I don't think that's going to be even viewed as massive once this starts to, the buyers can come in. They're like the institutional buyers can come in. But I agree with you. It was a big thing. And Rail Engine, the other thing pops to mind, who was buying? Because I still think these bigger players, these knowledgeable players, aren't able to buy. But somebody is. So maybe, you know, maybe there is a little bit of information flowing. Maybe some of the investors have visited the company or had Zoom calls. And maybe, you know, some people are hearing things. I don't know. But I agree. Rail Engine was certainly the catalyst yesterday. And I think if you put 1 and 2 together or 3 and 1 together. Rail engine, rail tracks, and conductor comprise the suite of tools that Railtown is offering to users, whether they're corporate users or individual teams of developers, at the TELUS data center. And we looked at it yesterday. They have 20 million connections. I mean, some of those are just people on their internet, I know, for Gmail or something. But I don't know, 1% of it is enterprises. That's 200,000 customers. It could get really exciting once that potential revenue from the TELUS deal starts getting visible. But I think the rail engine was a critical piece that had to be completed. And now they have the full offering. What else could they be waiting on? Maybe they're waiting on Anthropic or OpenAI or Cohere, but who knows? Or maybe there's, another piece that we don't know about. But I would say that it's pretty clear that data center is ready to rock and roll. And it's at least possible. The only thing they were waiting on was rail engine. It's at least possible. And therefore, now that rail engine is ready to leave the station, we're not too far away from the story being told, the story getting out there, the marketing to begin, research, etc., those things. So we're at 28.45. We're up 0.0004, barely in the green. But the volume is nothing. It's 19,092. Eric says, after the amalgamation with AIP, the company has a clear path and clear paper to revenue through their affiliate ecosystem. I totally agree with that. The question is, what's the multiple do you put on it? But we know that Dr. Tom Core, and then that presentation too, but we know by paying attention that over $100 million in spending on alternative data centers by the network of companies, apparently 125 out of maybe 200 companies. It's over 100 million. And obviously, Railtown owns that network now. They don't own the companies yet, but they own the network. So they're Dr. Tom Core or whoever's the best salesman at AIP, they're going to move that revenue. And that revenue, I have to take exception with the view that you have to wait 2 years and you have to wait to see the revenue. That's not what's going to happen here, in my judgment. That over 100 million, I think you can assume it's going to grow. There's more companies. Those companies' products and client base, the demand on the data center is going to grow. I mean, it could grow to 200 million by 2028. I've used 150 in my calculations, and then I just round it down a little bit. But that revenue is controlled by Railtown. Cajoled. They're They're going to make it happen. And, you know, that's, I mean, if you assume that it grows to 125 million, it's over 100 million right now. At 20%, that's 25 million in annual revenue, annual recurring revenue at essentially 100% margin. And the question is, what kind of multiple do you put on it? Well, if that were the only thing in the company, you know, you'd probably put a finger motion multiple on it, 3x times revenue. Although here it's all profit, so maybe it gets a 5x. I'd say at most a 7x. If that's just a static revenue line. But it's not static. It's growing. We just don't know how much it's going to grow. But that's just one small piece. You've got Uniserv, which is small, but Uniserv, they're going to prove up their concept. And you've got the TELUS data center, the TELUS clientele, which is huge. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be, they're going to prove up the concept of their IP and of their technology. And assuming no glitches, the addressable market isn't just one data center or two data centers in Canada. The addressable market is hundreds of data centers worldwide, and probably a lot more than that. So it's pretty exciting. Clay says, I agree with you, Eric, and I think that's right. Ward Richardson, good day, William and RT crew. Bill and Jensen were seen climbing up to the caboose with a shite-eating grin on their faces. Buy while you can. The caboose. It'll be like that train in the Wild Wild West. Clay, okay, William just picked up 7,000. Wow, look at that total. That is some nice. That is some nice action there. That's a huge amount of stock. Congratulations, Clay. Clay says that he's taken your advice, Ward. Ward Richardson, I suspect we will know more on a TELUS earnings report in February. Yeah, the management discussion, maybe we can all tune in. Maybe we can just do it right here and listen. We're not going to, you know, we're not going to be able to ask questions, but we can all join in and listen to it and hear what Darren Entwistle has to say. Hey? Donna says, good afternoon to Ward, and Ward says, thumbs up to Clay and keep buying, everyone. I agree, but I'm kind of a broken record on that subject. It's 3 o'clock. Neil Gondik. Hello, Bill and RT investors. Close to 600,000 shares on the Canadian with 60 minutes to go. That's pretty good. It's not higher than yesterday, which I also think is good, by the way. In other words, it broke out. It's pulling back on lesser volume. And that could be one more day, 2 more days. But it could also be that tomorrow it snaps back. I don't think there's going back to Julius's question, I don't think it's very long that this is going to be under 30 cents. I wanted to sell my new movie script so I could buy more shares. I'm making it up. I don't have anything to sell. Hayward Richardson says to good afternoon to Donna. Eric says good job to Clay and CJ Yukon. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Oh gosh. I'm not sure I might have bet Bill O'Reilly. I don't remember it. Something tells me that I saw him, mingled with him. But I did. Who ran that show, Agronsky and Co.? Was it Agronsky and Co.? Or was it the other one? The guy that used to be a priest. Damn it. He would talk to Mort, and anyway, I saw him at the YMCA downtown when it was new. That was the only facility, so you could see everybody there. He'd always say bye bye. So me being a jerk, I did that with a friend. I forget the guy's name. He was in the lockers, maybe 2 over. So I said that a couple times out loud. And I saw it, Britt Hume used to come in and sun, those machines. And who else? Saw Tom Cruise once in the locker room. I just not like anything exciting. 27.2 to 28.9 now. 52.5 by 52.5. But the volume just shows 19,920. They must be doing trades in the pools, Let me see. So there is a daily site. So I wonder if this is telling you during the day. Yeah, the volume in Canada, 660,000. The CSE, 338,000. I don't know if you add those together or they're just breaking it out. I guess they're breaking it out. That's probably what they're doing. The total is 660 on the top, then 338 on the Canadian. On the Neo, 178,000. Omega, 80,000. And then these other little exchanges, just a few. The links. Recent trades. Wow. This is good stuff, account settings. This is in Canada. RBC is the buyer, the seller BMO Nesbitt. 1,500 shares, and then prior to that, 100 shares. And then Merrill Lynch bought 1,500. Prior to that, Merrill Lynch bought 1,500 again. The seller is BMO Nesbitt. They're the seller on everything, BMO Nesbitt. Who the hell's selling? Nobody's selling. There's no real shares being sold. Anybody that's selling now, they would have already been out last, in December in frustration or for tax loss reasons. That's a very interesting website. We'll see how it closes. It's in the green in Canada land, and not much, half a penny, 38 cents. Very interesting website. Matthew Kohler, my DCA is 30 cents. My DCA is National Airport. Let's hope that it's only up from here. Well, I don't want it to be straight up. I'd like to see some sell-off as it goes up, you know, because anything that goes up without building on the way up, it'll come down, susceptible to coming down pretty quickly. But yeah, I think in general, Matthew, it's going to be up from here. I think in general, that is the case. I think we've gotten through the really horrible part. Basically, kind of end of November, it collapsed, or third or fourth week in November. It just broke down. And then it was hell on the highway. Hell in the canyon. They do the same thing to me. Willie the Wandering Gypsy and me. So December was quite, at first stressful, then painful. January has just been a slog. But a lot of you have taken advantage of it, and I think it's over. I think that period of time is over. But we'll see. How could I be wrong? I could be wrong if Railtown isn't really anything, and I don't think that's the case. I could be wrong if the markets collapse. But even with that, there'll still be a market of stocks. There'll still be stocks that trade up, even with general markets going down. But I think the backdrop will matter. But I think it's over with. We've spent essentially 60 days, maybe a little less, in this painful sell-off. And I don't think we have to be down here much longer. Well, we'll find out. Eric says $35 in pockets change. Just added 91. I love it. Imagine, instead of going out and buying a pizza in I don't know, 6 or 9 months, you might have $910 or you know, $2,000 or more. I love it. How do you say it, Ward? Milk cow. Yep. Anil Ramdeen. Can someone tell me what's the latest with Finger? I was gone for about 6 months. Thanks. Well, it's obviously important to you. Finger is 121 by 123. The volume is 72,000. The market cap, it's weird. It says it's called Property Management Corp. Weird. The market cap is 75 million. So Fingermotion has a bigger market cap than Railtown. Let's just do your work for you. We'll go to, let's go to OTC. No, let's go to NASDAQ. So they give the address as Singapore. That's interesting. Let's see what the news is on Finger. Maybe I'll go back to Yahoo. It's always the best. So the Fed held rates. I don't think that was a surprise. Okay, so the news on Fingermotion. They announced their results 13 days ago. And a month ago, they entered into a term sheet for a potential acquisition of a voice messaging service provider. And a month ago, they introduced a new enterprise procurement platform to expand services. And 2 months ago, Fingermotion announced a strategic roadmap to drive regional expansion and shareholder value. Those kind of announcements are not worth the paper they're printed on. They announced a dividend warrant 2 months ago. 3 months ago, their strengthened business development efforts for AI and big data solutions in Southeast Asia. That's almost close to buzzword land. But 3 months ago, Fingermotion's losses deepened at a 5.1% annual rate, stretching valuation versus peers. Five months ago, Fingermotion to showcase advanced command and communications platform at Indonesia's Emergency Disaster Reduction and Rescue Expo. All right, let's just go to the results. Survey says. So they reported 3 days ago or so, Q3 2026. Quarterly revenue of 5.8 million, less than 6 million, a decrease year over year. Their telecommunications products and services revenue was 5.76 million, down 32%, compared to it's a typo here. They've got both 3 and 2, but I think compared year over year, quarter year over year, the Daji platform generated $4,354 compared to $30,529. And it's important to focus on Daji. Anything that can contribute $1,500 a month, you got to make sure you focus on it. Command and Communications segment contributed $31,000 in revenue compared to $138 a year ago for the quarter. Big Data contributed $126 versus 0 year over year for the quarter. Cost of revenue is lower at $5.53 million. Of course, your top line revenue was $5.8 million. Cost of it's $5.53. So a gross profit at Finger for the quarter of $263,000, a 41% from same quarter a year ago. Operating expenses basically $2 million, $1,960,000 in the quarter, slightly down from a year ago. The net loss to shareholders, $1.67 million for the quarter. The basic and diluted loss per share of 3 cents, same. They have $24,000 in cash and cash equivalents. There is a working capital surplus and shareholders' equity. Total assets are $60 million. But how do you define that? Current liabilities $43 million. Total liabilities the same. 61 million shares outstanding as of November 30th, 2025. And then it's a bunch of words. Discipline, diversify. So that's what's going on, Anil. I personally think, well, let me read to you from Edgar. I don't have to remember it. I can just read it to you. They made filing the annual report. I didn't see that. Might as well look at that. They put a proxy out, so we'll look at that. We went through the results, but I believe they never tell you, they just give you never know which one to hit. All right, here, that might be it. Yeah. All right, so on 11/14/2025, Finger Motion filed Form S3. I mean, it's a red herring. That this prospectus relates to a resale of 4.360 million shares of common stock. This is different. Let's see who's selling that stock. The company's not selling it, so let's see who is the seller. It's a lot of stock, 4 million shares. the company there's a variable interest loan agreements. I think this is taking care of an investor in the company. But so there's 4 million shares that are going to be sold by this prospectus. I don't want to read it all. This is filed in November. And who is the placement agent? We are not offering any shares. The company isn't. All right, so I don't see who's doing it. Anyway, that's something to be aware of. I can't seem to get back to the filings. All right, so what do I do? Just do it again. I'll just do it again. It's all about the base. No trouble. No trouble. Somebody else is selling stock. We went through that yesterday. But there's a, I just am not going to be able to find it. Maybe this is it. Financial statements. So frustrating. Let me go to OTC markets. They made a filing that this company O'Reilly or O'Flaherty is going to do an at-the-market offering. And I just can't find the filing because the way it's broken down, you have to guess which one. But maybe I can see it on the let's just see what this is. Anyway, Anil, I can't find it quickly, obviously. They just, which one are you supposed to, here's your list of filings. Which one are you supposed to hit? There's no dates. So you hit one and then you're off on another section. You can't go back. Anyway, I guess I won't read it to you. They did file a that this group O'Flaherty can raise up to 50, sell up to 50 million shares in an at-the-market offering from time to time. So I would just suggest to you that the company is going to have to raise money. They put out this annual report. You should, if you really want it, if he'll give you the time, because his due diligence is exceptional, you should ask Tony to go through this annual report, and he'll go through the risks. But to me, they're all pretty obvious. There's a lot of them, though. And it all boils down to ongoing concerns. Ongoing concerns. I'll read this. I'm not going to read it now because I don't think a lot of people here are in finger motion anymore. But the annual report is a good thing to pull up. It's 100 pages. And it's as accurate as it can be for a snapshot at the time it was written, as of the date. Trying to find if they have a management discussion. If you're not an accountant, which I'm not, so they have a growth strategy, and it's got a lot of bullet points. One of them is enhancing values. It's a good strategy. Another is diversification. Good strategy. They're going to focus on strength and invest in talent. It's always a winner. They finally get to one that actually makes sense to me. They're going to advance the development and deployment of C2 platform. They're going to aim to expand the adoption across municipal agency, public safety departments, and private sector. You know, that's whole different than what I was led to believe, that they had a nationwide exclusive contract with the government. But anyway, they're going to expand that .G platform. Maybe they can get it up from 4,000 a quarter to, 6. And of course, they want to focus on expanding their customer base. And they're going to expand their new product lines. And they're going to enhance values. Competition, our industry is highly competitive. Intellectual property, apparently they have a bunch of it. Regulation, highly regulated. Risk factors. This is where Tony can help you focus on the risk factors. But they have a limited operating history. We have a history of net losses. If we fail to effectively manage our growth, we depend on key personnel. Our concentration of earnings from 2 telecommunications companies may have an impact on results. Privacy breaches are a risk. System failures are a risk. The successful operation of our business depends on things beyond our control. Lawsuit risk. We may require additional funding to support our businesses. You should be reading that. We're going to require additional funding to carry our losses. They have claims against IP. Apparently, people are claiming they breached. Tensions between the United States and China. Risks related to our securities. This is where Tony shines. But I'll go ahead and step on his toes and point out that Finger Motion stock has limited liquidity. The company does not intend to pay cash dividends. If securities or industry analysts do not publish research, our common stock could decline. The continued sale of our equity securities could dilute ownership. If we fail to maintain an effective system of disclosure, we'll get in trouble. FINRA, sales practice requirements could at some point limit a shareholder's ability to sell their stock. Our shares of common stock have been thinly traded. The People's Republic of China government may determine that the VIE agreements, poof, our ability to operate the Zhuji technology under the VI agreements, they don't control. It's never been challenged, but it could be. Payment under the VIE arrangements may be challenged. We generate our revenues through payments we receive pursuant to the VIE agreements. If the People's Republic of China tax authorities, everything gets written down as a risk. Changes in China's political environment, uncertainties of China's legal system. You may have difficulty enforcing judgments against us. If I told you you had a beautiful body, would you hold it against me? Inflation in China, capital outflow, compliance with China, restrictions in currency, fluctuation in currency, regulations in China, fines maybe could always happen. We are exposed to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. We have difficulty sometimes complying with U.S. securities laws because they have a hard time establishing oversight, proper oversight. It doesn't have a going concern clause. I was thinking it would. It doesn't seem to have that. They're not making money. And I would argue with you, I would argue or suggest to you, and I could not find it, and I'm looking to see if it's in here because there'll be a discussion of O'Flaherty or O'Reilly in the annual report, but it's such a long thing. They're going to raise money. And I looked up that brokerage firm, by the way, and it looks like an honest firm. It's not one of these fronts for the shorts, in my judgment. When I looked at the website, it's like a 65-year family firm. And, maybe they are able to raise money, but what are the odds that it's done above the market or even at the market? Or if it's done at the market, what are the odds it's done at $1.22? Anyway, is that enough information on Finger? Because I can't find this O'Flaherty right now, and we've only got 20 minutes to go on Railtown, and I think it's a much more valuable use of our time to talk about Railtown. Railtown now is 28.45, 27.3 to 29, 22,000 shares. I think it's good that the volume has reduced. Giuseppe, hi William, hello everyone. Do you think yesterday's extraordinary volume in Canada was short covering? I don't, but I don't know. A lot of it happened in the anonymous category. I think it might be moving trades, but no, I really don't. I think they were still selling stock yesterday. So I agree more with, I think it was Eric, that somebody was buying based on that rail engine announcement. But I don't know. There's no transparency. And, every aspect of your life, if you drive your car down the highway, you go into a bank, if you take money out of an ATM, if you walk down a busy street, if you carry your phone with you, they know everything about you. But Ann Wagner, Congresswoman Ann Wagner, who runs the Financial Services Oversight Committee, she wants to make sure that your privacy is protected by not requiring a consolidated or an audited trail of trades. So it's very hard to know. But no, I don't think that was short covering. I don't. And I don't think, but that doesn't mean there weren't trades covered back and forth, just moving it from one LLC to another, or moving it from one trading house to another just to buy more time. That could be going on. But no, in general, I don't think there was any covering of the shorts. And Neil, when will Ham be coming on? Ham doesn't speak to me anymore, and by his choice. And I think it's been a year. And it's, I don't know what happens. I seem to have that effect on people. Ward Richardson, Eric, that's it. Keep buying those cash cows. Matthew, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't remember what you said. Let me see. My DCA is 30 cents. I don't know what DCA means, but I assume you're saying your cost average. So I just got to figure what the D means. I don't know what it means, but your average cost is 30 cents. That's incredible. It really is, Matthew. It's a good price. Eric Bellinger, Ward, cash cow. I'll write it down. Pizza rules. Just checking in, William. Still holding my small amount. Bravo. I think we've been through the storm. Doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some gusts and, water falling off of leaves and out of gutters and all that. But I think we've been through the storm. It's been a painful 60 days, frankly. Very disappointing. And Neil, thank you. If you want more sorry, I think you got to go on Twitter and listen to Ham's calls, because I don't have any access to information. I mean, you've got a good group of investors there, and they could organize an effort to make things happen. And Finger has run before in the spring. That family-owned brokerage firm, O'Flaherty or whatever, I don't think they're part of the criminal cabal. So that might be a positive. Should be a positive. CJ Yukon, RT volume 1. Yeah, 45 to 19. That's what happened here. Although right now I show 48,590. I think the popping back and forth is adding some of the dark pool trades, is all I can guess. I show it 26.93 to 29 and 48,590 shares. Last trade 28.07. And GDC is $4 now. So anybody that paid $7.80, you're down 50%, but it's not over because Railtown basically went down 40% in that time frame. So we got 15 minutes to go. Original Planksta bought 2,500. All right. That's very good. That's a nice number. Just think. I mean, it seems unreasonable at this moment, but what if it went to $10? That's a nice trade that you set up. So good for you. Ward Richardson. William, cash cows are on sale, limited time only. Attention all shoppers. Yeah, CJ Yukon. Yeah, it's right. You're right, saying that it's back to 47. I don't think it's glitches. I think it's two different reporting systems. And I think one is the real trades and the other includes some aspect of the dark pool or off the exchange trades. It is a joke what goes on in this small micro cap market. It's just unfair. You look, and I do too, but you look for integrity. There's no integrity. It's a sham. And the sooner we can get away from it, the better. So anyway, if you look in the annual report, you can, or go through the filings. Using a desktop computer, you can probably see the full click where the filings are. But you can find out about the proposed money raise at Finger. So I think Finger, you got to be ready for them to issue shares. But, you know, it's normal. I'm not one that says that companies shouldn't issue shares. It's just you got to, it's just something, it's a risk. And if it gets under $1, you know what they do. You know the rules. You know the rules. The New York City ferries are suspended as the Hudson and East River freeze over. I wonder if the Atlantic Gulf current is still running. When's the last time the Hudson and East River froze over? When Hans Christian Andersen went ice skating? I know, that was in Amsterdam. I know. All right, we just got 10 minutes to go. The Nationals have claimed Sung Shae Shen and designated Connor Pilkington. The Rockies have acquired Edouard Julien and Pearson Ole. These are the kind of news stories that keep you excited. Let's see what the comments are about the Fed interest rate. Powell offers few clues on Fed's path after rate hold. There's internal division at the Fed and political tension. Stocks hold steady. S&P 500 touches 7,000, which you heard here first. Actually, I said 7,500, and then I raised it to 8,500, and now tentatively I'm saying 10,000. Gold soars above 5,300. I have a strategy for our gold company, but I won't bore you with it tonight. Jim Cramer is torn about Microsoft. Torn. So it must be buy, 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 sell, sell, sell. I'm seeing some posts that Microsoft has some trouble with its flagship Office product, but I don't know. They're just so big and they have so much revenue. So Microsoft announces a Maya 200 AI chip. I guess all chips get named after women now, which is nice. Big tech earnings to test AI rally as resurgent Alphabet takes the lead. Seagate. Wow, I remember Seagate. Microsoft to report second quarter earnings with investors eyeing AI growth. So maybe that's going to happen after the close. Raymond James reiterates outperform on Microsoft ahead of earnings. Microsoft retakes key level amid new AI chip launch with earnings on tap. Stifel lowers Microsoft's price target. Jim Cramer analyzes. Analyze this, pal. All right, let's get back to our watching the paint dry. 2712, 2671, 2681, 2688, 2684, 2694, 2695, 2699, 271, 2717, 2722. That's a lot of bids. Doesn't mean anything though. And the ask is fixed at 29 cents, 32,500. The volume right now, 48.59. Last trade, 28.07, up slightly. It is in the green, but ever so slightly. Finger is down a penny and a half, 121.5. GDC down 38 cents at $4.04. MTEN at $2.62, which when you divide it by 200, it's basically a penny a share. ZJYL is 0.1556. And I'm running out of things to keep you interested in Railtown. I mean, for the next 5 minutes. We got to be interested in it as a cash cow, as a Railtown, as a roadhouse. 27.81 to 29.3. So the ask is slowly going up. We've got 3 minutes left. Will the ask go to 30 cents like Julius asked? We shall see. 13.5 bid for at 27.81, 25,000 for sale at 29.3. The volume is still 48,590. Low volume, I take as very bullish. Just over 2 minutes to go. And nothing's happening. Nothing is happening. All right, so I'm going to go this next 2 minutes, and I'll probably sign out unless anybody has a question, because today has been slow. 28.07 last trade, 2 minutes to go. 27.81 by 29.3, 23,500 to buy, 25,000 on offer. And there's no activity. You know why, I think? Because there's no retail activity. The computers were going back and forth with each other and nothing was happening. So now it's just stalemate. 27.81 by 29.3. Last trade, 950 shares at 28.07. 1 minute to go. Last trade 28.07. The bid is 27.81, 23,500. The ask is 29.3, 25,000 offered. Now 10,000. Now 15,000. 29.3. So maybe somebody took 10,000 shares, or they're just showing more than one offer, or they spoofed. The bid is starting to move a little bit, more than one bid. 13,500 at 27.81. Now it stopped. I can't tell you what the other one was. There's 22,500 for, now it closed. The computers couldn't make anything happen. Closed at 28.07 and barely up, but it is in the green. Finger 121, GDC 4, ZJYL 1, 15.58. So unless somebody has something else, I might just take that as an opportunity to sign off. The current position we have in Railtown, 17,400,000 434,113 shares. We have it down to the share. That's a good position, but hopefully we're on the verge of a multi-month reward. I'd say it's going to take, be a process of 3 to 6 months, 9 months for our ultimate reward. That doesn't mean it's not going to go up significantly and quickly in the meantime. All right, I'm going to sign off. I wish everybody peace and warmth, and we'll talk at you tomorrow.